Welcome everyone to the, let me just get
our goal here. We want you to succeed in everything that you do. So therefore, without further ado, I'm passing it on to Yaakov. Yaakov, you'll take over, and I'll see all of you at the next class.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Shua, for that. Okay, welcome everyone to Writing with Confidence. We are very excited that you were able to join us today. This is a joint project this is a project that is spearheaded by JobMap, and we are very excited to be here with you. This first course that we're going to do here today is going to be focused on the fundamentals of writing, planning, and clarity. Later on in the course, which is later on this week and next week, we'll focus more on grammar. But before that, just to focus. Yes.
Sorry, just to interrupt. Just to make sure that the recording isn't unpaused.
The recording is recording.
Okay, good. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. So we are going to focus more on grammar later on in the course, but first we're going to start with the fundamentals of writing, all about planning and clarifying. Very important part of writing. To begin with, first of all, keep in mind, anyone who has any comments or questions, please feel free to chat. Someone asked if this question is going to, if this course is going to be recorded live. It is being recorded. And for all those who need it, I'm sure a recording will be available for you. First of all, keep in mind, everyone can write. Later on, we're going to go through a few myths about writing. But for all of you who are not sure about writing, keep in mind, if you speak English, if you can talk, you can write. There are a few skills you need to develop to write better. But overall, essentially, you can be an excellent writer just like anyone else. There is no monopoly on writing. No one has a monopoly on writing that says, only I can write, I'm a New York Times bestseller, or I'm a businessman, or I'm something that you cannot be. Everyone can be a great writer, and we're going to focus on what that looks like and how it can be. So first, I would like everyone to please go ahead in the chat box and type, what do you think is good writing? What's the key element? What is the most important ingredient that makes good writing great? If we can get everyone to respond in the chat box, that would be great. We'll take a moment to read some of the responses. What do you think if you had to, if someone asked you, what is the one element that makes writing the best, that makes good writing, what would you write? Okay, we got captivating, absolutely. Grammar. We have spelling. Clear, easily understood. Okay. So yes, having a clear message to convey your point, absolutely. Informative, okay? So you guys are on the right track. Yes, the most important thing about writing is clarity. More so than spelling and grammar, it's all about clarity. Getting people's attention, seamlessly flowing, all of that is going to work when you have clarity, right? When someone reads what you wrote and it seems obvious to them, it's not obvious to them, it seems clear, they're enlightened by the fact that you said something that now makes total sense to them. That is what you will achieve with good writing. That's what good writing looks like. The best writers in the world are not busy all day with grammar. They're not busy all day with fancy words. They're not busy all day with poetic styles. They're busy all day with whittling their thoughts down to the clearest possible concept that they can. I hope to illustrate that in the next few slides, but I want you to really think about that whenever you write. My goal is not to sound smart. My goal is not to sound creative. My goal is not to sound fancy or educated. My goal is to be clear. And the clearer you write, the more concise your message is, the easier it'll be to get the reader's attention, especially in business where people don't have time. The clearer you write, the more informative it'll be. Clarity is going to be your absolute #1 most important skill. And I cannot stress that enough. A famous writer wrote, "Writing is thinking. To write well is to think clearly. That's why it's so hard." You're going to take any thought that you have, any idea that you want to share, and you're going to spend time figuring out how to make that concept the clearest concept possible. That is the best writing in the world. Every writer, every New York Times bestseller, every professional writer will always tell you the best, most important goal about good writing is clarity. And it's just like this picture. You see in this picture how the dirty water is on top, and the dirty water is being sifted through stones and sand and mud, and what comes out in the bottom, if you look into the bottom, into the cup, you'll see clear, drinkable water. Your job as a writer is to find a way to get people's attention, because what you said is so abundantly clear that it cannot be ignored. Your job is going to say, how can I take whatever is in my head and whittle it down to the most clear possible message? Okay, if anyone has any questions or comments about that, please feel free to post it in the chat or type it up in the Q&A. But yes, absolutely, #1 goal of writing is to make your writing clear, super clear. And we're going to practice a little bit of that tonight. Next question I would like to ask you, and if you could just type in the chat, how much time do you think you need to be spending on planning, writing, and editing? So if you were to write it, you would write for P, just write a percentage, write W, write a percentage, and E a percentage. If you could just post that in the chat. What do you think is the percentage of time you should spend planning, writing, and editing? I'll just post it in the chat so you could see what I'm talking about. And if we could get as many people as possible to just post a percentage for each of these ideas. We got one person that wrote, okay, we got 50% planning, 10% writing, 60, 20, and 20. Okay, 25, 50, and 25, 40% editing. Excellent. Thank you for all of those responses. So research shows, especially if your focus is to write clearly, research shows writing is going to be only 25% of your time. You're going to pop out the writing very quickly, and you're not going to spend too much time thinking about the writing. And there's a few reasons for this that we're going to talk about in a moment. Planning and editing should take up 75% of your time. Coming up with what you want to say and polishing that message so that it is beautiful and clear should be 75% of your time. I wrote an article the other day. I spent less than an hour writing it. I spent 4 hours editing. That is your goal. Only 25% of your time should be writing. And the more you focus on editing and planning, the clearer your message will be and the more polished it'll be. I'm not saying you have to spend 4 hours on everything that you write. What does editing mean exactly? We're going to talk about editing in more detail in the next course, but the short version is the process is you're going to spend some time planning, and we'll do some activities to show you what planning looks like. Then you're going to write a draft. Writing means writing your first draft. And then everything after that is going to be editing, reviewing all the words, what comes first, second, or third, how clear is this, showing it to other people. All of that is going to be editing. Thank you for that question. But I want you to think about what that means. And here's why. Writers who spend too much time focusing on the writing process come out with two issues. One is their writing is not so good. And the second is they often come with a lot of writer's block. They get stuck. They say, I'm going to write something. What should I write? And they get stuck. They get trapped because they're too nervous that the first thing they're going to write is not going to be good enough. And if you were to take or interview any professional writer, ask New York Times bestsellers, ask them what their first draft looks like. Your first draft should look terrible. Your first draft should look nothing like your end result. Your goal should be that your first draft should look terrible. Because in your first draft, you want to let the unconscious part of your mind run wild. Okay, so we'll come to that in a moment. The conscious part of your mind is going to be the editing part. Part of the planning is going to be conscious and part of it's going to be unconscious. And that process of allowing your mind to go wherever it wants is going to be part of a very important part of great writing. And it's going to be a very important part of clarity. And it's also going to be a very important part of not getting stuck in the middle of your writing. So here's a few myths about writing. Again, if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to respond or comment. Only people born talented writers can be good writers. It's absolutely not true. Anyone can do it if they practice and they follow certain steps. Only people who had a full elementary and high school education can become good writers. It is not true. Some of the best writers in the world never had formal training. You have to spend more time on writing than planning and editing. It's not true, like we just said. You're going to want to spend more time planning and more time editing than you're going to want to spend on the writing. The writing, you're just going to want to pop out of your head. I need to know all the rules of grammar to be a good writer. That's not true at all. You don't need to know all the rules of grammar because grammar is not the most important part of writing. Grammar will help you. It's going to be a stage later on that we're going to talk about. But thinking clearly is going to be the most important part of writing. Many professional writers don't know the most about grammar and they still work it out. I mean, there's some rules of grammar you need to know for sure, but editors are available and there's a lot of ways to get around not knowing such great grammar. But it's not the most important thing. A lot of people feel like they don't have to spend, I know what I want to write. I don't have to spend time planning. That's also a big myth. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I'm going to pop it out in one draft. It's going to be done. Sometimes you could do that with a short email or something, but anything that is important, you're going to want to spend time organizing your thoughts and planning. My first draft needs to be good is absolute nonsense. Your first draft should be terrible. The most professional writers in the world write terrible first drafts. That's not the goal. The goal is to get things down on paper with your first draft. Using fancier words is better. I think we'll demonstrate later on that using fancier words is a terrible idea. Mainly because using fancier words distracts the reader from the clarity of the message. The more you start using fancy words, the harder it is for the reader to understand what you're saying. And what you want to do is use good words that make that specific point very well. But simple words are always going to be better. I can become a good writer without practice. Never said no one ever. It never happens. It is not a real thing. It will not achieve anything. For my writing to have style must be flowy and poetic. That is not true. Again, good writing is going to be clear and simple. That especially in business writing. Clear and simple. You're going to mean exactly what you say, and you're not going to use words that exaggerate or words that talk in broad generalities. You're going to be very specific about what you want to say. Okay. Before we jump into here, let's do this. If everyone can go ahead and look at the link that I sent, I'll post the link again. If you could go ahead and open the sample text, I'm going to stop this share and share the screen where I have the sample text open. And it should look like this. If you could go ahead, link number 2, sample cover letter. If you can go ahead and open that, that would be great. Okay, and once you have it open, if you can just, are there any words, any situations where using fancier words help? Possibly, but rarely. Possibly, but rarely. Generally, it's, especially in business writing, it's not going to help you very much. No link I see here. Chaim, are you talking about, do you not have this link? The bit.ly.com//CHYE770? Is that not working for you? If we can just get a little thumbs up when you're into the document. So what I would like you to do is, okay, great. I see some people are in. I had in mind to do breakout rooms, but in this particular setup, we can't really do breakout rooms because we are in a presentation and not a regular Zoom lesson. But I just want to read a little bit of this. Let's read some of this and try and focus on how this is a cover letter. Someone wrote this letter to a company hiring an editor. And not an editor, hiring a writer who would add some writing for their magazine and edit some of the articles in their magazine. And forget about the specific jargon, the specific language that is referring to specific things related to that company. Just focus on how poorly this is written, because it's so confusing and it's all over the place, besides the fact that this person is obviously very into himself. But this is just a bad example of writing. Now, I just want to jump out to a few different places. If you go ahead and read some of it, maybe post in the chat how lack of clarity or fancy words takes away from his goal of trying to get hired. If you could take a moment, you don't have to read the whole thing. If you could just read a bit of it and make a comment in the chat of what sticks out to you about how poorly this is written not because of the grammar, but because of a lack of clarity and just jumping from thing to thing and using fancy words for no reason. Here's an example that he uses over here. I definitely possess the drive and dedication to burgeon in this position. This is a fancy word for grow. Now, if I were to ask you, would this sentence be clearer if he just said, I'm excited to grow as an editor? What would be clearer? I definitely possess the drive and dedication to burgeon in this position. Or if he says over here, in every regard, my qualifications appear to be consistent with the desires expressed by your advertisement and based on the voices of the Business Insider blogs and my critical evaluation of your newsroom and its inhabitants. What? Its inhabitants? What is going on in this letter? What is this person saying? Yes, grammar is a medium for making language clearer. Thank you, Chaim, for pointing that out. Grammar is a medium for making language clearer, but grammar on its own is not the goal. Clarity is the goal. And to get real clarity, you'll use the tools like grammar, but it's going to be more about thinking clearly. How clear can you think? How clear can you boil down your message to what you really want to say? You know, this guy in this particular situation is saying, I want to get hired. But he writes this super long letter talking about how good of a writer he is. Yes, good grammar makes it look professional. I'm not saying to avoid grammar. I'm not saying to avoid good grammar. I'm saying that grammar is not going to be the key element. Grammar is going to be something you cannot get away with. You cannot not have good grammar. But if you want to get better at writing, you're going to focus more on how clear is my message more than how nice is my grammar. Okay? So he just jumps from topic to topic of how good he is and how amazing he is. The fact that he uses all these extra words, even though his grammar is decent, in this particular letter, it does not help him get the job. Okay, anyone else has any comments about this particular letter? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is one of two choices. It seems a bit long for a cover letter. It's absolutely true. You don't like his message. Yes, his message is off point. Absolutely. And it is very long. No person who's hiring someone, I know, for example, I hire people in my field of work. I'm never reading something that long. And yes, obviously him saying his whole like arrogant piece of how brilliant he is not very, very smart. So yeah, that's terrible. And he obviously hasn't spent a lot of time thinking about who the recipient is, who he wants to write to, and why it's important to write that message in a certain way. He's just very focused on what he wants to say. Way too long and not clear, exactly. Okay, so for a project, I would like us to choose, each of you can choose to write either a complaint letter to a business, think back to a situation where you had a interaction with a company and you did not like, you had a very bad experience and you wanted to write to the company and get a response from the company or get them to take some action. And it would be better if you thought about an actual event that happened to you, because if it's just a hypothetical one, you're going to have trouble being clear about your message. So think about, you have two choices here. You're going to either want to write about a complaint to a business that, again, something that happened to you, or write an apology to a client of yours. So imagine you have a business and just the other day, I saw a message in a chat about a restaurant owner was talking about how certain times his business gets very busy, and he people call up and they call up for orders, and they start meandering on the phone. Do I want this? Do I want that? And he couldn't really hear the message. He couldn't really hear their connection wasn't so clear, so he couldn't hear their credit card number, etc. And in the meantime, he had people in the restaurant waiting to take orders, and he couldn't do both. So he had to figure out who he was going to disappoint. So maybe think about, or yesterday I was in a restaurant and the waiter was one waiter serving 25 people, and it took him too long to get the food out. So imagine you started up a business, or you work for a company, or here's another example. I have a friend who started a business recently, and the products that he sold on Amazon came damaged. Now, this is the beginning of his brand. He has one chance to set this right. He wants to write a letter to them explaining how bad he feels and how he's going to make it up to them. So choose either one or two. Doesn't matter which one. And let's do the next few activities with that in mind. Okay? And keep in mind, when you're going to want to write a letter, you're going to want to, get the person's attention. You're going to want to keep their interest. You're going to want to build their desire to help you or to respond. And you're going to end with some kind of action, right? So you're going to think in your letter, how do I start with something that is interesting? Sorry, that gets their attention, like some kind of hook. How do I keep their attention throughout the whole message? And then desire, how am I going to build their desire to take action? That's what you're going to want to focus on in a message to either a customer or to a company. Whenever you're writing a message to someone and you're requesting something, you're going to want to focus on these 4 elements. Again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post. And here, this goes to that point that I was saying before. Step 1 is going to be brainstorming. Before you start writing anything, you're going to want to take out a piece of paper or do this on the computer, and I'm going to show you a link where you could practice this. How many paragraphs? It's completely up to you. It's not going to be about how long it is. It's going to be about how clear it is and how much it gets the job done. But step 1, before you write anything, don't write anything yet. Step 1 is going to be about letting your brain flow. You have all these ideas in your head about what you want. You're not going to want to constrict those thoughts, those ideas, with grammar or spelling or order, or is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? I'm just going to take all of the ideas that are in my head. I'm going to want to get them down onto paper as soon as possible, as fast as I can. And I'm not going to use anything, so we call that the right brain, or the music and the art side. I'm just going to let all of that flow out of my head. I'm not going to stop any of it. I don't care how bad the idea is. I don't care how good the idea, how creative, how silly, anything. I'm just going to let that out all onto the paper. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to organize it. I'm going to use the analytical side of my brain, and I'm going to say, I don't like this idea. This should go first. This should go second. This should go third. This is not right for this audience. You're going to organize it later. But step 1 in planning is always going to be let anything in your mind, anything that's in your mind is valid. And this, by the way, is going to save you from writer's block. If you're ever stuck with writer's block, this, and there's another activity later that's going to do a similar concept, this is going to help you with writer's block. So step 1, what I would like you to do is, I have a link over here. I have a link over here in this bit.ly.com CHYE770. I'm going to open it for you. And it's called Planning Template. I'd like you to open the planning template. And what you need to do is you can't type on this document. You're gonna have to click File and download your own version of this, or you're gonna have to click Make a Copy. You won't be able to type on this document. But if I were writing to a customer or putting out a letter to the community about a failure in my business, let's say my restaurant is brand new, amazing products, but my first day of opening was a massive failure because there were not enough servers, or the cashier couldn't get people fast enough. So I'm going to sit there and I'm going to start brainstorming. I'm going to say how sorry I am. Now, again, nothing here in this process is wrong. I could write anything. I could write, you could even write one word. I hate slow restaurants. I hate slow service. I'm writing improvements. I might write kiosk. I want to add a kiosk to my restaurant, and I want the whole community to know that I have self-service kiosks. I might write how much I love customers. Again, now you're not focusing on spelling, you're not focusing on anything. What order? Is it a good idea? I might want to tell them about the decor of my place, maybe the innovative. Innovative decor. Now, later on, I might say, oh, innovative decor is not relevant to this. But right now, I think it's an interesting thing. When I want to write to customers, I want them to know about these ideas. I might also say, I might tell them about my dream and my vision for the place. Okay. I might want a joke. I don't know. I'll put anything I want in here. Okay. And then once I have all that information over here, I'm going to take it and I'm going to organize it. I'm going to go to the second part. Remember, the first part is the unconscious part. The second part is the conscious part. The second part is, what is the goal and purpose over here? So my goal is get customers back. My audience is community. What's the angle? Improvements. Okay. So now I might take some of these things and say, let's see. Does it need to be from the perspective of the business owner as opposed to the employee of the company? You can decide how you want to write this. If you're writing this as the employee or as the business owner, whether you're an employee tasked with the job of fixing this disaster, this PR disaster, or if this is something that you are the owner of the company and you want to write it. It's not so much, this assignment is not so much about what it says, whether it's true or not, or that. It's more about, can you organize your thoughts super clearly? Now, you notice that when I was coming up with this brainstorming, I thought about all different things that I normally wouldn't have thought of inside a letter. And now I'm going to focus on these concepts. Okay, what is my goal? Who is my audience? What is my angle? Improvements and passion. Let's see if I can get that both in there. How will I get their attention? Let's look at my list over here. I'll add this one. How bad it was. Okay. Now, I might choose to say, how bad it was might be an interesting way to get their attention. You know, everyone likes a little bit of gossip. Everyone likes a little bit of, the other day we opened up our restaurant and only 20% of the customers got served. You bought this product from me on Amazon and it was a flop. I don't know. What do you think you will write that will get people's attention? Okay. Now I'm completely ad-libbing over here. I might spend time thinking, how will I keep their attention, their interest? I might want to tell them about my passion or story for this product. Okay. How will I build their desire to act? Tell them about improve my and the last one is action. Buy from, I'm just gonna do this. Buy from us again and won't be sorry. Now, here's what I mean about clarity, okay? I just did this now on the spot. If I were writing this for real, I would probably spend more time thinking about it, or maybe here, a joke. Okay. My goal is to say, how can I form my message clear instead of just walking over to the computer and start typing my message for the first time on the spot? If anyone has any questions or comments about this process, first of all, let's just get a comment in the chat box. Do you feel like this process of planning and organizing your thoughts, the unconscious of brainstorming and the conscious of putting it in order, is valuable and would help you improve the clarity of your writing? If I could just get a comment in the chat box. Okay, you're welcome to say no as well if you feel like it wouldn't help you. Yeah, you would not be used to it. Most people are not used to planning before they write and spending hours afterwards, editing afterwards. Absolutely. So what I would like you to do is take a few moments and type up your own okay, so the thing about writing and fixing as you go is you're going to do that later, but you should really, you'll get much more clarity. You should try it a few times. You'll get a lot more clarity about the goal of your message if you spend time brainstorming a little bit before and writing your first draft afterwards. Levi, I'm asking you to just try it out because it seems like you might not need it, but it'll help you afterwards. Is there a trick to gaining clarity in thought without spending all that time brainstorming? No. Brainstorming, planning beforehand and editing after are the keys to real editing. It's the process of planning, writing, and editing is super important. Again, you don't have to You don't have to, not every single letter you write is going to need 4 hours or multiple hours. Again, Levi, if you've spent time formulating this idea in your head, then it's not going to take you long to do the brainstorming and the planning, and you'll see it'll add benefit to it. Because once you start putting it in order, the writing itself, once you get to the first draft, is going to have more structure. Yisrael Cohen, dear Amazon, thank you for taking your time to respond to my package was damaged, was not even used, and I did not get a refund. It has been 30 days. Tried calling and emailing in the past and was not given a refund. I was not able to return it due to all being damaged. Can I please get a refund? Thank you. Yisrael, did you do a planning stage yet? And brainstorming and planning stage, or did you just write this from scratch? So if you could go ahead and spend the next few minutes just coming up with the brainstorming and planning for your planned essay that you're going to write, your letter that you're going to write. Yeah, so it's again, we're not writing our draft yet. We're going to write our draft next week. The goal right now is just to use the process of brainstorming to clarify our thoughts. That's the goal. Again, it's not going to necessarily make a difference on a small letter, but if you're writing an important letter to all of your customers, or if you're writing something that is worth $30,000, or if you're writing something of significance, you're going to want to plan it first. Okay, and when you're done, I'm going to ask you to post to go to link number 1 called dot storming, and it's going to look like this. You could just post your written piece into the dot storming website. Just again, your planning and your brainstorming and your planning. If you could just copy and paste it, you're going to click over here, join. You're going to click join. You're going to add a card. And if you could just post what you wrote. I'm going to post what I wrote over here. Okay. Again, Levi, thank you for that comment. That I'm so used to writing down my thoughts, I can't think of things I want to put in my letter. There's two things. First of all, you can do it that way where you write your letter first, but it's going to be a lot more editing. That's number one. Number two is it's not going to be super, super clear to you what you want to say. So what I would suggest is don't think so much about what you want in your letter. That's the conscious side. Just put anything down on your paper. Anything in your mind related to that topic. You don't have to worry at all. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going to be in my letter? Is it not going to be in my letter? Just try to do your best to just brainstorm, think out loud. Brainstorming, by the way, is a valuable skill that's going to help you in business anyway. It's a valuable skill, so just do your best. Angle, again, is from what direction am I going to talk to them about it. So in my case, in my quick thing over here, I wrote, even though I want to get the customer, my goal is to get the customers back, but I want to do it through sharing my passion and telling them about improvements. Okay. So again, if you could just go into the dot storming link and post when you're done what you have in the brainstorm. Again, there's no bad brainstorming. Anything you write is considered good brainstorming. And then just post what the outline of your letter is going to be, what you're going to say first, second, or third. Why are you going to put, you want to think, why would I put this first? Why would I put this last? The key here is not to think, not to spend any time worrying about quality control during the brainstorming process. And I promise you will take care of grammar as well throughout this course, just not today. Okay. We have one person who joined the dot storming. Okay, thank you for posting. Okay, your purpose is, okay, brainstorm damaged goods, no response, not happy with the service, need a refund, how good of a customer I am, how upset I was, how I was struck. Audience, Amazon customer service, get a refund, explain my story. Delavia, I hear you. It's a fair comment. The truth is that there's a little bit of a hard setting to come up with something on the spot. But I would definitely recommend the one thing that I say about when you say a pretty decent idea of what I want to convey. My experience and professional experiences about writing is that I mean, you'll see a lot more of this in the editing. What we want to do, to how clear and how specific we want it to be, is usually not clear to us until we really have a lot down on the page. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, if we could just get a few more posts on the dot storming of your brainstorming process and your organizing process. Okay, how do you post? Once you go to the dot storming, you have to click, you type in your name where it says join, and then you have to add a card. And then if you're done, you can go ahead and read through or make comments on other people's posts on the dot storming, or vote if you like one, put a thumbs up. Or if you have a thought about what someone else wrote. To add your piece, you go to the dot storming, click add a card, join, you have to join, type in your name and join, add a card, and then copy and paste it into there. Okay. We have a few up here. If you could go ahead and read other people's posts, that would be great. So you get an idea of how the process works. You can make comments on other people's posts, which would be really nice. Levi, did you figure out how to add your piece? Beautiful. This one about complaint about gas reimbursement. I like the way to get their attention. You start with a compliment. I think that's an amazing way to do it, starting with a compliment. Keeping their interest by showing them you care about the company. Absolutely. Everyone wants to hear how you care about the company. And when you start without saying something negative, you know, people's mindset is when they're complaining to say something negative. But often when you start off with saying a lot of positive things, you disarm the other person and they can't say no to you. Making the pros of the decision abundantly clear, excellent. Provide gas cards to the employees, that's excellent. Okay. Okay, if you could go ahead and just post below your comment, below your card. See, there's a little button where you can click the comments and you can add a little comment below. If you could just write down how, first of all, if you could comment on someone else's card or someone else's post, and just maybe make a little comment or either do it here in the chat box. Did doing this process help you at all? And if it did, how? Oh, someone wrote it here in the chat. Okay, they posted it back. Is there any value? Do you feel like writing your first draft of your letter might be easier now that you've got clarity about what you want to say and how you want to say it? Anyone can just post either in the chat box or below their comment. Okay. Again, it depends. I feel like, Levi, I hear that you say you feel like it didn't help. I think that the longer and more important a letter is, the more you're going to want to do a process like this. I'm not here to force it on anyone, but if you find it helpful, it's a good tool to use. It's how they write letters in the professional world. Okay, Yankee, we're writing. Yankee, did you have a chance to write your brainstorm and outline? Okay. Got it. Levi, you only see 2 posted. I see 3 posted. Are you able to see my screen? Okay, so what we're going to do is, this was step 1, It was coming up with a brainstorming, letting your mind flow, and letting your mind flow. Levi, I'm not sure why it's only posting 2 of them. I'll have to look into that. So what we've done tonight is focused on the concept that writing is about clarity more than it is about grammar and anything else. Number 2 is we practiced brainstorming and writing something out in an organized way, taking our brainstorm thoughts and putting it, organizing it, say which thoughts go first, which thoughts go second. We paid attention to this process of attention, interest, desire, and action. We let our unconscious brain float, and then we pulled in our conscious side to organize our thoughts and say, we spend some time saying no idea is a bad idea. And then after that, we spend time focusing on fixing it so that all our thoughts are organized. And we focused on a few myths about writing. Next time that we join together, we're going to be focused on actually writing our draft, and we'll start editing, which means we'll focus on grammar and structure of our writing. What I would ask you to do between now and next week, or not next week, but later on this week, is to just, when you look at, yes, I can share the slides. Yes. What I'd ask you is between now and the next time we meet is to spend time thinking about how brainstorming can help you organize your thoughts better, and how brainstorming can help you bring clarity to what you say. And I would invite you to read letters or things written by people and focus on how clear is what they wrote, and how is the clarity of what they wrote important. That's going to be, again, the most important part about writing is going to be about writing with clarity. Later on this week, I'm also going to share with you a link with a little quiz that you can take to brush up on your skills, what we spoke about tonight. And I will also look forward to meeting you later on this week. We're going to end a little bit early tonight, give you guys a few free minutes. And we will spend time thinking and focusing about how to make writing clearer for you. If you have any questions, I'm open to answering any questions, comments that anyone has. Yes, I would be happy to share a quick overview of tonight's class with the important points, together with a short quiz. That's an excellent idea, Yankee. I hope the information that we shared tonight was helpful to you, and look forward to meeting you later on this week when we focus on writing your first draft and beginning to edit it. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great night. I'll stay on for a few more minutes if anyone has any questions. You're very welcome. Thank you for your input. Any of you who share feedback and comment throughout the lesson is very helpful. Yankee, did you sign up with CHYE? Was there a sign up process? Okay, so I'll speak to Shulwordy and I'll get the email addresses from that and I'll share it. And if I don't have it from him, I'll be happy to post it on the link. This link, it'll be available for the next class, but this bit.ly link that I posted earlier, the bit.ly CHYE 770, I'd be happy to post it over there as well. And next week we'll use the same link. That link is going to be updated later on with more information and a PDF of what we spoke about tonight. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great night.